Hello everyone and welcome to your Wednesday news. It is the Gilman and the Millman, aka Jules Gill and Ash Millman, and there is a lot of superhero news to cover today. Today we're going to be talking about Miles Morales donning the spider suit alongside Peter Parker.
Yes.
We're going to be talking about the Watchmen TV show getting its final release date. We're going to be talking about Doctor Who joining
Doctor Who,
Doctor Who joining the DCEU, if it still even exists.
Yes.
And about the Batman that almost jumped ship to Marvel. So let's summon our superhero power, and that is...
Jingling. Hit the jingle.
Summoning the jingle, yes.
Here's the news delivered in a flash. Time for Jules and time for Ash.
Karate chop! That's from a previous take. Anyway, let's talk about some news. What are we going to start with today?
We're going to start with Doctor Who. Actually, no, I should have led with Who? Doctor Who. That would have been the joke. But we're going to lead with him anyway, and the Suicide Squad is what he's joining.
Really? In what context? Not actually Doctor Who joining the Suicide Squad,
no,
right?
that's it. That's the news. Doctor Who's joining the Suicide Squad.
Or is this just going to go...
Yep.
Sharp sonic screwdriver, destroy everything.
Exactly. No, Peter Capaldi has been in talks with James Gunn and the Suicide Squad team, which is the follow-up to the first Suicide Squad that we got in 2016.
That.
Yes, but because even though it was an absolute flopper, it was a real good. It was a real good box office revenue puller for Warner Brothers and DC and all that sort of thing.
Oscar winning as well. I hate that it is.
It is an Oscar-winning effort. So they've decided to do a follow-up to it, and it's serving as a soft reboot. So we're still getting Margot Robbie. We're still getting Jay Courtney, Captain Boomerang. Woohoo!
Absolute legend.
That was me throwing a boomerang, just in case anyone was unsure. So we're still getting those two. We're getting a plethora of new characters, and Peter Capaldi is going to be one of them, which is very exciting, actually, I think.
Do we know who he's playing?
No, but I copied and pasted what Ewan said in our Slack thread earlier, which was Capaldi's had to shave his head for this role, so I'm thinking either Hugo Strange or Grant Morrison, lol.
Now, Hugo Strange would be an exceptional character to play because I haven't read so much about him, but I played Arkham City, and he's like one of the main villains in that, and his whole thing of like controlling Arkham City and using that could be quite interesting. He's one of Batman's smarter villains.
Yes.
But that's really interesting to have Peter Capaldi.
Yeah, I think he's a really good one to have. So he's done the Doctor Who. He's been in the thick of it. He's done loads of very sharp comedy work as well as lots of intense drama stuff as well. So he's got a very varied back catalogue and will be a great actor for this sort of thing.
But the fact that he has some comic chops as well, because obviously the thick of it's very, very fast-paced and like quick-witted, it would actually play into the Suicide Squad's strengths, because as we saw the last time round, they did want to sort of like ape that sort of feeling that Marvel was going for with Thor Ragnarok, that sort of comedy, Guardians of the Galaxy style, like, hey, it's serious in places but very silly in others. And I feel like he could flip on a dime between the two, especially if he's cast as the main antagonist of the plot.
Exactly. And James Gunn's doing it as well, so that whole Guardians of the Galaxy vibe is there. Also, just to throw another little sprinkle in there, Pete Davidson has also been in talks for a cameo role, who is the Saturday Night Live guy. I only know him as Ariana Grande's ex-boyfriend, but apparently he does other things as well. But yeah, he's in talks for a little cameo role between his episodes. So I think we're definitely getting a more comedy-leaning sort of thing coming for it.
I really think that that's where Suicide Squad shone. I think that when it took itself too seriously was when it completely fell on its face, because it just became another generic superhero movie. But when it was being silly and being like, hey, this is ridiculous.
Enchantress is dancing. Like, I love that. I back it, you know. I saw the little gif earlier of being like, woo, and I was like, oh, good, bring that back, please.
There's not a bone in her body.
Yeah, literally.
It's just literally jelly spined. Yeah, so there we go. So that's Doctor Who is joining the DCEU in some form. We'll make sure to report on that as soon as all of the details become clear. But let's flip the coin and go from DC to Marvel and talk about Tom Holland and Spider-Man.
Yes.
Now,
please tell me more.
Now, Tom Holland is a lovely, lovely lad,
He is. He's so wholesome.
He is
just trying to rub his little cheeks, like.
But the thing is that he's become so accustomed to the role of being Spider-Man that it's kind of very hard to separate it. It's kind of like with Robert Downey Jr. and Iron Man. You kind of feel like he was purpose-built for this role. He's so silly, he knows when to be serious, and I feel like his comic timing is excellent. But because of Into the Spider-Verse that came out, Sony's obviously animated Spider story, as it were.
Excellent film.
Amazing,
so
amazing. Obviously, Miles Morales is now like the talk of the town.
Yes.
He had a fantastic comic book run, and also in Homecoming, you've got Donald Glover, who played Aaron Davis, who is Miles Morales' uncle. So he exists within the cinematic universe that Spider-Man is there. I was about to call it the MCU, and also I said flip the coin to Marvel. They're not even Marvel anymore. Spider-Man's out of the deal.
He's a Sony boy now.
He's with Sony, so it means that they are basically branching off away from what Marvel's helped them create, in effect.
Does that even mean we can get like more Tom Holland films though, because the whole splitting off?
Yes, he is. He's not owned by Marvel. He was on loan from Sony to.
But I thought it was just the property, not the actor.
No, well,
it's just the property, isn't it? Because we've had Andrew Garfield, we've had bring Tobey Maguire back, is what I say.
I mean, what a legend. He should be at least doing a voiceover in the next Into the Spider-Verse for sure. But it seems like Sony gonna take the property and Tom Holland, and also a load of people who were the creative team for the original 2 films, and they are also working on a 3rd film now.
Okay, sick.
But this is the problem, because there's been a ton of positivity about Miles. It's that a lot of people saying like, well, if you're going to be taking the property back, are we going to see Miles in the next one? And if so, is he going to be the new Spider-Man?
Yeah.
Which would make sense, but Tom Holland is obviously like, well, I like being Spider-Man.
Please, let me do it.
So he's come up with a sort of thing of like, why can't they just share the screen time? He said in an interview to GQ, I would love to share the screen with Miles. I think it would be really cool. And I don't want to die because I really love playing Peter Parker. So that would be kind of be a bit of a bummer.
That's what it means when contracts end. That's what happens. Marvel's like. Whew.
But I think that the concept of Miles and Peter Parker actually sharing the role of Spider-Man would actually make for something that is really interesting. Imagine a sort of like coming-of-age teen movie, but it's also a buddy cop movie with them both trying to be Spider-Man.
It would work so well.
Like, what if one of them is like, obviously Tom Holland is still learning to be Spider-Man as his Peter Parker. So what it could be is him trying to pass on what limited knowledge he has to Miles, and then both sort of like messing it up along the way with like one of them trying to save the other. And even it could be like a confusing PR stunt because they're like, there's 2 Spider-Men.
They're just the meme of being like, what?
Yeah, that's something like, I'm Spider-Man, no, I'm Spider-Man. And it kind of makes sense because they've already introduced with Into the Spider-Verse that there is multiple timelines and multiple things there.
Yeah.
But I feel like there is a really interesting story to be told if they are both in the same timeline and can actually both be Spider-Man without one having to die. If they managed to incorporate more into the Spider-Verse sort of level thing into it, because of all the multiverse in that, would they be able to like just transfer it to like a real life setting? Like when Homer comes in and the Simpsons ends up in the real world and it looks really creepy. You could have like kind of that sort of thing where it's like another, like a different dimension with that sort of stuff. The thing is that as over the top as the previous 2 films have been, I don't think that they'll lean into bringing animated stuff into that. I do definitely think
be
that
weird, could be fun.
I think that there's a realm of possibility for them to do it the other way around with the live-action Peter Parker going into the animated universe.
But it's like Space Jam, it'll be great.
Yeah, but I don't know if they will, is the question, because I feel like there's a lot of money to be made in keeping this properties slightly separate. But yeah, that's it. But there are other ways they could introduce it. Obviously, Miles exists within the this universe they've created, but obviously they've got Venom 2 coming out, so he could make a cameo in that. And it's now that Sony have got complete creative control, there is no reason for them not to.
They can do what they want, which is kind of nice, but also they've made lots of mistakes before.
That's very true. But then Tom Holland also went on to state that he wants to sort of see the diversity increase within the franchise. It would be great to share screen time with Miles Morales. And then he also said that he'd love to see a gay Spider-Man alongside Peter Parker and Miles Morales. And that, again, could be another sort of like, imagine an Avengers Assemble. I know that they're not part of the Marvel thing, but imagine an Avengers Assemble movie.
Just with Spider-Man.
But in live action that isn't Into the Spider-Verse. It would get very confusing, but it definitely could be done.
Wait, is it Spider-Man's or is it Spider-Men? Or I said Spider-Men's there, so it's completely wrong.
Spider-Ven with men, isn't it?
Spider-Ven with men?
Yeah, like Men with Ven, the thing from Peep Show. Man with a van, we could be Men with Ven. Anyway, carrying on, that's the end of my news.
So swinging from the Spider-Man news to Batman, which is a very good segue. Thank you for that. We've got Robert Pattinson. who is going to play the Batman in the new films. And he apparently, that wasn't always going to be the case because he was in talks for an MCU role originally. Which he was talking about in his first proper interview with Variety since he's got the role of the Dark Knight. He's talking to them about stuff that was going on in his past. And basically when he was doing, just after Twilight, when he was fresh off the presses and running around doing his acting stuff, he was in talks with Marvel and basically was like, after Twilight, I think I need to give it a rest.
Acting in general?
No, just like big franchises. He said, I don't know what I really would be chasing. The idea of trying that transition after Twilight, I never saw a road in that direction. But basically, it was around the time of 2014's Guardians of the Galaxy, and that's when he had his meetings. We don't actually know what role he was in talks for or who or whatever, but just that it would have been very interesting to see Patterson in there, basically.
I wonder what role he would have played, actually, because he's very, quite serious. So I can't imagine him being any sort of fun-loving character.
Could have been a Reaver, because the Reaver are real that is fun-loving, but I feel like he could have been a very serious Reaver that's played comedically sort of thing. Because the Guardians of the Galaxy stuff with Stallone and everything.
Yeah, actually that could have been probably the best thing. Oh, by the way, has anyone made the joke, the fact that because of his Twilight past and the fact that he's now doing Batman, no one's called him the Dark Bite?
I don't think they have.
Speaking of news, let's move on to our final little bit of information, and that is the Watchmen TV show has finally got a release date. Now, ever since the tease earlier on this year, the HBO adaptation of Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons' Watchmen has been hotly anticipated. But the wait is finally over. Well, it is in the sense that we know when it's coming out, but we still have to wait for it. It's not actually today, unfortunately. And that is, we have to twiddle our thumbs until the 20th of October.
Oh, that's a pretty good time, though. I feel like that's a good lead up to the Halloween sort of thing as well, because it's quite intense and brooding, isn't it? So
it's almost like it was done so they can shift a load of masks and stuff before Halloween.
Almost, you'd think, maybe, perhaps.
Almost. I mean, I know who I'm going as, Dr. Manhattan, big blue dong out. Anyway, well, medium, well, a little. Anyway, so now I'm finishing off with that. We're actually going to be witnessing the events that happen after the film. So that's going to be quite interesting because it's kind of like the fallout of all of the old heroes and villains, and now you've got the rise of sort of like the cult of Rorschach and then Rorschach. I find it really hard to pronounce that word.
Yeah, every time I read it, I'm like,
if you mumble through on these things, yeah, so like having them sort of taking power and the police now becoming masked, so it's a question of whereas before it was like we have to unmask everyone, now everyone is wearing masks. I honestly think that it's going to be great, and it looks fantastic.
Yes, it's very like a boys level, like The Boys recently was excellent.
It seems like a load of money's been put into the special effects as well. There was a specific chase where the Night Owl's flying ship is blasts a plane or another vehicle out of the air with like a spew of fire, and I was like, damn, that looks really good. That looks like a cinematic quality shot. Excellent. But either way, so the wait is nearly finally over. 20th of October.
The wait has a foreseeable end.
Yes, indeed. And much like this video, actually. So let's sign off the only way we know how, by plugging the absolute hell out of our Twitter handles. Mine is RetroJ with a 0 over on Twitter, and
@Ash Millman.
Thank you so much for watching us struggle through this superhero move and getting confused by the tons of cinematic universes that are out there. I hope you have a fantastic day, whatever you get up to, and hopefully we'll see you next week if we haven't been fired.
Hopefully.
It's always a worry.
Yeah.
Who would play you in a film?
Who would play me in a film? Michael Cera.
I'd be Donald Glover.